You know, when you think you have someone completely figured out, and then they surprise you in the worst possible way. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. Except I was the one doing the surprising. I'm Cassie. I'm 26. And I need to tell you about the night I torpedoed what could have been the best relationship of my life with one stupid sentence. Looking back, I thought I was being honest. I thought I was being mature about my feelings. Instead, I watched 2 months of something beautiful crumble in real time. And honestly, I still don't know if I was really wrong or if he just couldn't handle the truth. The thing is, when I met Tyler, I wasn't looking for anything serious. I was working at this local health clinic doing administrative stuff, just trying to pay my bills and figure out my life. Tyler worked in construction management. Honestly, I never really paid attention to the details because he was always covered in dust when he picked me up anyway. But there was something about him that caught me off guard. Our first date was supposed to be casual. Coffee at this little place downtown that had those mismatched chairs and way too many plants. I expected we'd chat for an hour, maybe grab lunch if it went well. Then I'd probably never hear from him again. That's how these things usually went for me. But Tyler was different. He actually listened when I talked. Like, really listened. I found myself doodling on a napkin while we talked. This goofy little cartoon of him with his work boots and hard hat. When I slid it across the table, his whole face lit up like I just handed him a winning lottery ticket. It was actually kind of adorable how excited he got over something so stupid. He folded that napkin carefully and put it in his wallet, telling me he was going to keep it forever. What started as coffee turned into 3 hours of talking about everything and nothing. When the barista started giving us dirty looks and aggressively wiping down tables around us, we finally got the hint and left. Tyler walked me to my car and asked if he could see me again. Not in that desperate, needy way that makes you want to run, but with this genuine enthusiasm that was honestly refreshing. After that, things moved fast. Tyler had this habit of calling me around 10 p.m. Right after he'd showered and was winding down for the night. We'd talk about random stuff, what we had for dinner, something stupid that happened at work, plans for the weekend. Sometimes I'd fall asleep while we were talking. And I'd wake up the next morning to a text saying he'd listen to me breathe for 10 minutes before hanging up because I sounded so peaceful. Within a few weeks, we were seeing each other constantly. Weekends became automatic. Friday night movies at his place. Saturday morning breakfast runs. Sunday afternoons just lounging around. He had this tiny apartment above a pizza shop that always smelled like garlic and oregano. But somehow, it felt more like home than my own place. I loved how easy everything felt with him. There was no drama, no games, no wondering where I stood. Tyler was straightforward about his feelings in a way that was both refreshing and slightly overwhelming. He'd tell me I looked beautiful when I rolled out of bed with messy hair and yesterday's makeup. He'd remember tiny details about stories I'd told him weeks earlier. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets complicated. I wasn't completely available for all this perfection Tyler was offering. See, there was Austin, my ex-boyfriend, the one who'd kept me in emotional limbo for the better part of a year before we officially broke up 6 months earlier. Austin was everything Tyler wasn't. Unpredictable, exciting, emotionally unavailable, and absolutely terrible for me in all the ways that somehow made him irresistible. Austin and I had this toxic cycle going. We'd break up dramatically, spend weeks apart, then end up texting late at night when we were drunk or lonely or bored. One thing would lead to another. And suddenly, we'd be hooking up again, both pretending it meant something different this time. Even while I was falling for Tyler's consistent kindness, part of me was still tangled up with Austin. I told myself it wasn't cheating because Tyler and I hadn't had the talk yet about being exclusive. We were just dating, getting to know each other, keeping things casual. At least, that's what I kept telling myself every time Austin's name popped up on my phone. The truth was, I liked having both. Tyler gave me stability, reliability, and genuine affection. Austin gave me chaos, passion, and the kind of uncertainty that kept my heart racing. I knew it wasn't fair to either of them, but I also wasn't ready to choose. Why should I have to The last time I saw Austin before everything exploded was actually just 3 days before Tyler's big question. Austin had texted me around midnight on a Wednesday, drunk and rambling about missing me. I should have ignored it. I should have been thinking about Tyler, who'd spent that evening helping me assemble a bookshelf I'd been putting off for months. Instead, I found myself driving to Austin's place at 1 in the morning. It was the same as it always was with Austin. Intense, passionate, and ultimately empty. He told me all the things I wanted to hear about how much he missed me and how different things could be this time. I knew he was lying. Just like I knew I was lying to myself about why I kept going back to him. I left Austin's place that night feeling hollow and confused. On the drive home, Tyler called to check that I'd gotten home safely from my supposed girls' night. His voice was sleepy and sweet, asking if I'd had fun and telling me he missed me, even though we'd just seen each other that afternoon. For the next few days, I threw myself into being the perfect girlfriend for Tyler. I cooked dinner at his place, let him introduce me to his coworkers at a company barbecue, even helped him pick out a birthday gift for his sister. I was trying to convince myself that Tyler was everything I needed, that I could let go of whatever hold Austin still had on me. The night everything changed started innocently enough. Tyler had made his famous spaghetti and meatballs. Nothing fancy, but he put effort into it that I'd never experienced with anyone else. We were curled up on his couch afterward, my legs draped across his lap while some mindless comedy played in the background. That's when Tyler shifted slightly, turning to face me with an expression I'd never seen before. It was serious but hopeful, nervous but determined. He muted the TV and took my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my palm the way he did when he was thinking about something important. "Cassie," he said, and his voice had this quality that made me pay attention immediately. "I've been thinking about us, about where this is going. I know we haven't talked about it officially, but I want you to know that I'm not seeing anyone else. Haven't been since our second date. Actually, and I was hoping. I'd like for us to be exclusive, official, whatever you want to call it." The words hung in the air between us, and I could see the vulnerability in Tyler's eyes as he waited for my response. This was exactly what I should have wanted. Tyler was offering me everything: commitment, loyalty, a real relationship with someone who actually cared about me. But instead of feeling excited or relieved, I felt panic rising in my chest. All I could think about was Austin, about the fact that I'd been with him just 3 days ago, about how Tyler was asking me to close a door I wasn't sure I was ready to close, about how I'd been lying to this sweet, honest man who deserved so much better than my confusion and indecision. Instead of giving Tyler the answer he deserved, instead of being honest about my feelings or my recent mistake, I said the one thing guaranteed to destroy everything we'd built together. "Can I sleep with my ex one last time?" The words were out of my mouth before I could stop them, and immediately I wanted to take them back. But it was too late. Tyler's face went through about 5 different emotions in the span of 2 seconds. Confusion, hurt, anger, and finally, a kind of resigned sadness that broke my heart. "What?" he said quietly, like he hadn't heard me correctly. I think I need closure," I stammered, trying to explain something I didn't even understand myself. "It's not about you. Tyler, you're amazing. I just have this unfinished business with Austin. And I think if I could just, are you serious right now?" Tyler's voice was still quiet, but there was an edge to it I'd never heard before. "You want to go sleep with your ex before we become official?" "I'm trying to be honest with you," I said. And part of me actually believed that I could have just said yes, and then done it anyway. But I wanted to tell you the truth about where my head is. Tyler stared at me for a long moment, and I could practically see him processing what I just said. Then he asked the question I'd been dreading. "When's the last time you slept with him?" I hesitated. And that hesitation told him everything he needed to know. "Cassie," he said, his voice getting firmer. "When, a few months ago," I lied, because the truth felt too brutal to say out loud. Bullshit. Tyler's voice was flat now, devoid of all the warmth and affection I'd gotten used to. "Try again." I could have stuck to my story. I could have gotten defensive or changed the subject. Instead, for some reason, I told him the truth. Last week, I whispered. Wednesday night. Tyler went completely still. I watched him mentally calculate the timeline, remembering what we'd done together that week, realizing that I'd been with Austin just hours after spending the evening with him. Wednesday, he repeated slowly. The night I helped you with your bookshelf. The night I called to make sure you got home safe from your girls' night. I nodded, unable to speak. So while I was worried about you getting home safely, you were actually fucking your ex-boyfriend. It wasn't a question. Tyler, please let me explain. Explain what? He stood up abruptly, pacing to the other side of the room. Explain how you've been playing me this whole time. Explain how I was just your backup plan while you figured out if you could get back together with him. It's not like that, I protested, even though part of me knew it was exactly like that. Then what is it like, Cassie? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been using me as your safety net while you kept one foot out the door. I wanted to argue with him, to tell him he was wrong, but the words wouldn't come. Because he wasn't wrong. Not really. I had been keeping Tyler as my safe option while I continued my toxic dance with Austin. I care about you, I said weakly. What we have is real. Real? Tyler laughed. But there was no humor in it. Real would have been telling me about Austin from the beginning. Real would have been making a choice instead of stringing me along. Real would have been not fucking your ex 3 days ago and then sitting here asking permission to do it again. I started crying then, partly because I was genuinely upset and partly because tears had always been my go-to move when cornered. But Tyler wasn't falling for it this time. Don't, he said, holding up a hand. Don't cry and make this about how sorry you are. You made your choice. Cassie, you've been making it for weeks. I haven't chosen anything, I said through my tears. That's why I wanted to be honest with you about needing closure. Closure. Tyler's voice rose for the first time. You want closure. Here's your closure. We're done. Go be with Austin. Go figure out whatever it is you need to figure out. But don't ask me to wait around while you do it, Tyler. Please. No, his voice was final. I thought I knew you, Cassie. I thought you were different, but you're just like every other girl who can't let go of the guy who treats her like shit because he's exciting and I'm boring. You're not boring, I said desperately. You're the best thing that's happened to me. If that were true, you wouldn't have slept with your ex last week. You wouldn't be asking to do it again. Tyler grabbed his keys from the counter. I'm going for a drive. I want you gone when I get back. And just like that, he was out the door, leaving me alone in his apartment that still smelled like the dinner he'd made me with such care just hours earlier. The next morning, I woke up with that sick feeling in my stomach that comes after you've royally screwed something up. My first instinct was to call Tyler, to try to fix what had happened. But when I tried his number, it went straight to voicemail. He'd blocked me. I spent the entire weekend going back and forth between anger and regret. Part of me was furious that Tyler couldn't handle one honest conversation about my feelings. What kind of man just walks away instead of fighting for someone he claims to care about? But the other part of me, the part I kept trying to ignore, knew I'd fucked up in a way that couldn't be undone. By Monday morning, I'd convinced myself that Tyler would cool off and we'd be able to talk things through rationally. I decided to go to his workplace during lunch, thinking maybe if he saw me in person, he'd remember what we had together. I found Tyler easily enough. He was in the trailer that served as the temporary office, bent over blueprints with 2 other guys. When I knocked on the door and he looked up to see me, his expression didn't change at all. It was like looking at a stranger. Can I help you? He asked politely. Professionally, like I was just another vendor or client. Tyler, can we please talk? I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I know you're upset, but I'm working, Cassie. He didn't look up from his papers. And we don't have anything to talk about. 5 minutes, I pleaded. Just give me 5 minutes to explain. One of the other guys cleared his throat uncomfortably and mumbled something about checking on the crew outside. Tyler waited until we were alone before finally looking at me directly. You want to explain, he said. Explain what exactly? How you've been lying to me for weeks. How you were planning to keep lying if I hadn't asked about being exclusive. I was trying to be honest, I said, my voice getting louder. I could have just said yes to being exclusive and then done whatever I wanted behind your back. But I didn't. I told you the truth about where my head was. Tyler stared at me for a long moment, and I could see something shift in his expression. Not anger anymore, but something worse, disappointment. You really believe that, don't you? He said quietly. You actually think that asking permission to cheat on me was you being honest and mature. I wasn't asking to cheat. We weren't exclusive yet. Right. Tyler nodded slowly. We weren't exclusive. So tell me, Cassie, how many other guys were you sleeping with while we were not exclusive? Because I'm pretty sure it was just Austin. Which means this isn't about keeping your options open. This is about you not being able to let go of someone who treats you like garbage. I wanted to argue with him, but he wasn't wrong. It had only been Austin. It had always been Austin. He doesn't treat me like garbage, I said weakly. Doesn't he? Tyler's voice was getting sharper now. When's the last time Austin took you to dinner? When's the last time he introduced you to his friends or made plans with you more than 2 hours in advance? I couldn't answer because we both knew the truth. Austin had never done any of those things. That's what I thought, Tyler said. So don't stand here and tell me this is about honesty or adult relationships. This is about you choosing drama over stability, chaos over peace, because you're addicted to feeling like shit about yourself. That's not fair, I said. But even as the words came out, I knew they sounded hollow. You know what's not fair? Tyler was standing now, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked genuinely angry. What's not fair is letting me fall for you while you were still hung up on someone else. What's not fair is making me feel like an idiot for believing in something that was never real. It was real, I insisted. What we had was real. If it was real, you would have chosen me without having to think about it. If it was real, you never would have slept with Austin last week. If it was real, you wouldn't be standing here trying to convince me that asking to fuck your ex was somehow you being considerate of my feelings. So that's it, I asked. 2 months together, and you're just going to throw it all away because I made one mistake. One mistake, Tyler laughed. But there was no humor in it, Cassie. This wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern. You've been choosing Austin over me every time you had the chance. And I was too stupid to see it until you spelled it out for me. I drove straight to Austin's apartment. Austin was exactly what I expected him to be when I showed up crying at his door. Sympathetic without being too invested. Willing to let me vent without actually offering any real solutions. He made the right noises about Tyler being an asshole and not understanding how complicated relationships could be. Tyler sounds like he's got some serious jealousy issues, Austin said, running his fingers through my hair while I curled against his chest. Any guy who can't handle you having a past isn't worth your time. That's what I tried to tell him, I said. I was trying to be honest about my feelings, and he made me feel like some kind of monster for it. You're not a monster, babe, Austin murmured. You're human. Humans have complicated feelings. If Tyler can't handle that, it's his loss. Austin and I spent the next few days together, falling back into our familiar pattern. It was easy and comfortable in a way my relationship with Tyler never had been, because there were no expectations, no pressure to be better than I was. But even as I tried to lose myself in the familiar comfort of Austin's chaos, I couldn't stop thinking about Tyler, about the way he used to text me good morning every day, about how he'd listen to me ramble about work drama without getting bored, about how safe and cherished I'd felt when he held me. 3 weeks into my reunion with Austin, the honeymoon phase was already wearing thin. The chaos that had once felt exciting now just felt exhausting. Austin was still the same person he'd always been, charming when he wanted something, distant when he didn't, and completely unreliable when it came to anything that mattered. I found myself thinking about Tyler constantly, comparing everything Austin did to how Tyler had treated me. When Austin forgot I was coming over and I had to wait outside his apartment for an hour, I remembered how Tyler used to text me when he was running even 5 minutes late. The big wake-up call came when I got sick with the flu. I was miserable. running a fever and barely able to get out of bed. I texted Austin to let him know I wouldn't be able to come over, expecting maybe some sympathy or an offer to bring me soup or medicine. Instead, I got back. Okay, feel better. Let me know when you're back to normal. That was it. No follow-up check-ins, no offers to help, nothing. I spent 3 days in bed alone, thinking about how Tyler had taken care of me when I'd had food poisoning a few weeks into our relationship. 3 months after our breakup, I made the mistake of checking Tyler's social media. Tyler had posted photos from a weekend trip with some woman named Brooklyn. They were at a lake house, surrounded by his friends and family, everyone looking happy and relaxed. The caption read, "6 months with this amazing woman, grateful every day for second chances and new beginnings." 6 months. They'd been together for 6 months, which meant he'd started dating her almost immediately after our breakup. While I'd been wallowing and trying to make things work with Austin, Tyler had moved on completely and built something real with someone else. That night, I got drunk and sent Tyler a long, rambling text about how sorry I was and how much I missed him. I told him I'd made the biggest mistake of my life, that I'd never stopped loving him, that I'd do anything to have him back. He never responded. The next morning, I woke up to a text from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Brooklyn. Tyler showed me your message. I understand you're hurting, but please stop contacting him. He's moved on. And you need to respect that." That same week, things with Austin reached a breaking point. We got into a massive fight because he'd made plans with his friends on the one night we'd scheduled to spend together. "You're acting just like my ex," he said during the argument, "always wanting to know where I am, getting upset when I want to hang out with my friends. I thought you were cooler than this. Tyler used to—" "Oh my God, enough with Tyler." Austin exploded. "I'm so sick of hearing about your perfect ex-boyfriend. If he was so great, why are you here with me?" It was a question I couldn't answer, because the honest response was that I was only with Austin because I destroyed my relationship with Tyler through my own stupidity. That night, Austin didn't come home. He texted around midnight saying he was staying at a friend's place. 2 weeks later, I found out Austin had been seeing his ex-girlfriend Rebecca the entire time we'd been back together. Not just sleeping with her, actually dating her, taking her to dinner, meeting her friends, doing all the things he'd never done with me. I found out when Rebecca showed up at Austin's apartment while I was there, expecting to surprise him for his birthday. She had a key, a birthday cake, and plans for a romantic evening. She also had no idea I existed. What followed was the most mortifying conversation of my life. Rebecca and I compared notes about our relationships with Austin, and the picture that emerged was devastating. Austin had been lying to both of us about everything. When Austin came home that evening, he found both of us waiting for him. I watched his face cycle through surprise, panic, and finally resignation as he realized his game was up. "Look, I can explain," he started, but Rebecca cut him off. "Don't," she said firmly. "Just don't. We're done." "Austin, both of us. You know what the funny thing is?" Rebecca said to me as we both prepared to leave. "We both deserve better than this." But somehow Austin convinced us that we didn't. I went home to my own apartment for the first time in weeks. I sat in the silence, trying to process everything that had happened. I'd lost Tyler, a man who would have loved me faithfully and honestly, for Austin, who had never been mine to begin with. 14 months later, I was getting coffee on a Saturday morning when I saw Tyler again. Same coffee shop where we'd had our first date, which felt like some kind of cosmic joke. Tyler was at a corner table with Brooklyn, both of them laughing over some shared joke while they read the newspaper together. They looked settled, comfortable, happy in the quiet way that comes with real intimacy. Brooklyn had her feet tucked under her legs, Tyler's jacket draped over her shoulders. Tyler was absently playing with her hair while he read, the kind of unconscious affection that speaks to deep familiarity. Tyler looked up and saw me. For a moment, neither of us moved. Brooklyn noticed Tyler's change in expression and followed his gaze to where I was standing. Tyler said something quiet to Brooklyn, kissed her forehead, and stood up. He walked over to where I was standing. "Cassie," he said simply. Hi, I managed. You look good. You look good too, he said. And I could tell he meant it. I'd been in therapy for over a year, had started taking better care of myself, had stopped the self-destructive patterns that had been my norm. How are you doing? Really? The question seemed genuine. I'm better, I said. Not great, but better. I've been in therapy, trying to figure out why I trailed off. Why you sabotaged us, Tyler suggested. And there was no malice in his voice. Yeah, I said quietly. I'm glad you're getting help, he said finally. You deserve to be happy. Cassie, you just didn't know how to let yourself be. The past tense wasn't lost on me. Deserved, not deserve. I know that now, I said. Too late. But I know it. It's not too late, Tyler said gently. Just too late for us. She makes you happy, I said. Nodding toward Brooklyn, Tyler's face softened immediately. She does. She's everything I didn't know I needed, Tyler. I said, knowing this might be my only chance. I want you to know that I'm sorry. Not because I want anything from you. Not because I'm trying to get you back. Just because I'm sorry I hurt you. And I'm sorry. I was too immature to see what we had when we had it. I know you are, he said finally. And I forgive you, Cassie. I forgave you a long time ago. Holding on to anger at you was just holding me back from being happy with Brooklyn. I should let you get back to your morning, I said. Cassie, Tyler said, as I turned to leave. I mean it about being happy. You deserve that. Don't settle for less just because it feels familiar. I sat in my car for 10 minutes afterward, crying not just for what I'd lost, but for what Tyler had found. Because seeing them together had shown me exactly what I'd thrown away, and exactly what kind of love I should be looking for in the future. Tyler had found someone who chose him every day, someone who didn't need drama to feel alive, someone who understood that real love was built on consistency and trust rather than chaos and uncertainty. Brooklyn got to be loved by someone who would never take her for granted because he knew what it felt like to be betrayed. Maybe someday I'd find what Tyler had found with Brooklyn, someone who could love me consistently, someone I could choose without reservation, someone who made me want to be better rather than making me feel worse about myself. It was a painful lesson, paid for with the loss of the best relationship I'd ever had. But it was a lesson I'd carry with me for the rest of my life. A reminder of what happens when you choose chaos over love, drama over peace, fear over trust. Tyler was happy now, genuinely happy in a way he'd never been with me. And while that knowledge hurt, it also freed me from the fantasy that we could somehow try again. He'd moved on completely, found someone who could give him what I'd been too broken to offer. The story of Tyler and me was over, ended by my own choices and sealed by time and his commitment to someone else. But my story, the story of learning to love myself enough to accept real love from someone else, was just beginning.